There is a program in this country that will pay your Medicare premium for you. Not reduce it, not discount it, pay it. And there is not one single person whose job it is to tell you that you qualify. Right now, if you are on Medicare, more than $200 a month is being pulled out of your Social Security check before it ever reaches your bank. The standard Medicare Part B monthly premium for this year is $202.90, deducted directly from Social Security benefits. You never see that money. It is gone before the check is a check. Over a full year, that is more than $2,400. And there is a program, run by your own state, that takes that payment over completely. The money stops coming out. Your check goes up by that amount the following month. Now here's the number that should make you sit forward. Close to half the people who already qualify for that program are not enrolled in it. Verified card. Source: National research on Medicare Savings Program take-up finds a large share of eligible beneficiaries are not enrolled. And I want you to hear the next sentence very carefully, because it is the whole reason I am making this video. Almost none of those people were turned down. They were never turned down because they never applied. They sat at a kitchen table, looked at their own income, decided in their own head that they earned too much, and closed the door themselves. Nobody closed it for them. That is the single most expensive mistake in American retirement, and it costs nothing to fix. Today I am going to walk you through 3 of these. 3 separate programs, 3 separate pots of money, all of them paid for, all of them sitting there waiting on an application that never comes. The first one takes over the premium coming out of your check. The second one is worth thousands of dollars a year at the pharmacy counter. And the third one is an entire second check every single month that a great many people are absolutely certain they are not allowed to have. They are wrong, and I will show you exactly why. I am also going to hand you one sentence at the end of this video. One sentence, one phone call that gets you screened for all 3 of these at the same time. Because here is what happens to almost everybody. They find out about one, they apply for that one, and they never learn the other 2 existed at all. My name is Kevin. Every week I go looking for the rule that quietly decides what happens to your money, and I bring it here before it costs you anything. If that sounds useful, subscribe and turn on the bell, because this is the rare week where the news is good and the only thing standing between you and the money is a phone call nobody told you to make. Now let me answer the question that I know is already sitting in some of your minds. If this is real, why has nobody ever told me? It is a fair question and it deserves a straight answer, and the answer is the same for all 3. These programs pay out on application, not on eligibility, on application. Which means there is no office somewhere reviewing your income, noticing that you qualify, and mailing you a letter about it. That letter does not exist. That office does not exist. That person does not exist. The system knows what you make. It has your income. It has your age. In most cases, it already has everything it would need, and it will still sit there quietly for the rest of your life if you never raise your hand. And there is one detail inside this that I find genuinely maddening, and I want to give it to you because almost nobody explains it. These programs are connected to each other, but only in one direction. If you get approved for the premium program, you are automatically given the prescription drug program on top of it. Automatically. No second application. But it does not work the other way around. Verified card. Source: Enrollment in a Medicare savings program automatically qualifies a beneficiary for the Part D low-income subsidy, while the reverse is not automatic. So there are people in this country, right now, who already have the prescription help and who are still paying their Medicare premium out of their own check. They walked through one door. Nobody mentioned there was a second door in the same room. And that is not a conspiracy. Nobody designed it to trap anybody. It is just what happens when programs are built at different times, by different agencies, with different applications and different names. But the effect on you is exactly the same as if it had been designed that way. The money only reaches the people who ask for it by name. Now let me give you the first one, and it is the one you can start on this week. It is called a Medicare Savings Program. And that name is part of the problem because it sounds like a discount card or a coupon, and it is neither. It is your state paying your Medicare premium for you. The $200 and change that comes out of your Social Security every month simply stops coming out. And I want to be precise here because people hear this wrong. Your check does not get a credit. Your check does not get a refund at the end of the year. The deduction stops. Your monthly deposit is larger, permanently, for as long as you qualify. Verified card. Source: Medicare savings programs pay the Part B premium for beneficiaries who meet income and resource limits. For most people watching this, that is a bigger raise than any cost of living adjustment they have ever received in their life. And it does not come from Congress. It comes from a form. Now, there are 3 versions of this, and the difference between them matters, so stay with me. The most generous version does not stop at your premium. It also wipes out your Medicare deductible and your share of the cost when you see a doctor, which means those bills that arrive in the mail 3 weeks after an appointment stop arriving at all. Verified card. Source. The most comprehensive Medicare savings program covers Part B premiums as well as Medicare deductibles and cost sharing. And there is one more protection buried inside that most generous version that almost nobody knows about, and it is worth real money. If you are enrolled in it, a doctor or a hospital that takes Medicare is not legally permitted to bill you for the Medicare share of the cost. Verified card. Source. Providers who accept Medicare are prohibited from billing qualified Medicare beneficiary enrollees for Medicare cost sharing. That rule gets broken constantly, usually by mistake, in billing offices that did not check. So if you are in that program and a bill shows up anyway, that bill is very likely not yours to pay, and one phone call to your state office is how it gets cleared. The other 2 versions cover the premium itself and not the extras, but every single version of it puts real money back in your hand every month. Now here's the part where I need your full attention, because this is where people talk themselves out of thousands of dollars. The income limits. For the most generous version, a single person can have monthly income up to about $1,350. For a married couple, that line sits above $1,800 a month. The middle version raises that to just over $1,600 for a single person and above $2,100 for a couple. And the third version goes higher still, above $1,800 a month for one person and near $2,500 for a couple. Verified card. Source. Current year Medicare Savings Program monthly income limits for single individuals and married couples based on federal poverty guidelines. Limits are higher in Alaska and Hawaii and in several states with expanded rules. Now read those numbers against your own situation and be honest with yourself about something. Those lines are higher than you assumed. Almost everybody assumes they are lower. And there is something else about those income figures that nobody explains, and it changes the answer for a lot of people. The number they test is not the number on your bank statement. Before they compare your income to that line, a portion of it is set aside and not counted at all. Verified card. Source, Medicare Savings Program, and low-income subsidy income tests disregard a portion of an applicant's income before comparing it to the limit, which means your countable income is lower than your actual income, sometimes by enough to move you from one side of the line to the other. You cannot do that calculation at your kitchen table because it is not the calculation you think it is. That is exactly why looking at your own deposit and deciding the answer is the wrong move. And there is a savings limit as well, and this is where the real damage happens. The federal figure sits near $10,000 for a single person and near $15,000 for a couple. Verified card. Source, Federal Medicare Savings Program resource limits for individuals and couples. A number of states have raised or eliminated the resource limit entirely, and here is what nobody tells you about that number. Your house does not count. Your car does not count. Your furniture, your belongings, your burial arrangements, none of it counts. It is bank accounts and investments. That is essentially what they are looking at. So the person who looks around at a paid-off house and a running car and decides they are far too wealthy for this has just disqualified themselves over 2 assets that were never being counted. And more than a dozen states have thrown that savings test out entirely. In those states, there is no asset limit at all. There is only income, which means the honest answer to, do I qualify, is not something you can work out at your own table. It depends on your state, your household size, your living situation, and which of the 3 versions you land in. Let the application do that math. That is what it is for. Let me put a face on this, because numbers do not land until they belong to somebody. Ozella is 76. She lives outside Cape Girardeau, Missouri. She kept the books for a lumber yard for 22 years. And after her husband died, she stayed in the same house they bought in 1971. Her Social Security is modest. It is the whole of her income. And every month, like clockwork, that Medicare premium came off the top before the deposit ever hit her account. Ozella had heard vaguely that there were programs for people who needed help. And every time she heard it, she thought the same thing that I promise you some of you are thinking right now. That is, for people who are worse off than me. She owned her home, her car ran. She had a small amount set aside in an account she never touched, because her mother raised her to always have something set aside. In her mind, that made her comfortable. In her mind, that put her out of reach of anything with the word assistance attached to it. Then a neighbor mentioned it. Not a caseworker, not the government, a neighbor. And Ozella called, mostly to be polite, fully expecting to be told no. She was under the line, not barely, comfortably under it. The house had never counted. The car had never counted. Her income was nowhere near the ceiling she had imagined in her head. Her state took over the premium. The deduction stopped. In the following month, her Social Security deposit was more than $200 larger than it had been the month before. Now here is the part of Ozella's story that I cannot get out of my head, and it is not the good part. She had qualified for years, not months, years. Nothing about her situation had changed. She did not become eligible that spring. She had been eligible the whole time, sitting in the same chair, in the same house, with the same income. The only thing that changed was that somebody finally said the word out loud in front of her. Multiply 200 and change by every month she did not know. That is what a piece of missing information actually costs a person on a fixed income. And she was never denied. I want to say that again because it is the thread running through this entire video. Ozella was never turned down by anybody. There was no letter, no rejection, no official who looked at her file and said no. She said no, to herself, at her own kitchen table, for years. And that is the exact moment I built the quiet rules for. Because the problem was never that Ozella was not smart enough or careful enough. She was both. The problem is that everything that decides what happens to your money in retirement is written down somewhere she was never going to look, in language nobody was ever going to translate for her. The quiet rules is everything I cover on this channel in one place, written large and written plain. What you actually qualify for and what the real income lines are. What does not get counted and why that changes the answer. The exact words to say when you pick up the phone so that the person on the other end knows immediately what you are asking for. So that you are not sitting there years from now doing the arithmetic on what you did not know. You can find it at kevinexplains.shop. The link is right below this video, or scan the QR code on your screen right now. It is also in the pinned comment at the top. And there is a 7-day guarantee. Always. If it does not hand you something you did not have before, you send it back. Because the alternative is a widow in a paid-off house going without for years over a form she was never told existed. If nobody has ever explained that program to you before today, do me one favor. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because this channel reads the fine print that nobody mails to your house. Now let me give you the second one, and for a great many of you, this one is worth more than the first. This is the prescription drug help, and its real name is the low-income subsidy. Most people know it by the name it goes by in plain conversation, which is extra help. Here is what it actually does. It pays your drug plan premium. It erases your deductible completely, and it caps what you pay at the pharmacy counter at a few dollars per prescription. Verified card. Source. The Part D low-income subsidy pays the plan premium, eliminates the deductible, and limits prescription copayments to small fixed amounts. A generic runs a little over $5, a brand name runs a little over $12. That is the whole cost. That is what you hand across the counter. And on top of that, there's now a ceiling on what any Medicare drug plan can make you pay out of pocket in a year. Once you reach it, your covered prescriptions cost you nothing for the rest of the year. Verified card. Source. Medicare Part D now includes an annual out-of-pocket spending cap, after which covered drugs cost the enrollee nothing. Put those two together and you are looking at a program the Social Security Administration itself estimates is worth thousands of dollars a year to the average person who has it. Verified card. Source. The Social Security Administration estimates the average annual value of the Part D low-income subsidy at several $1,000s per person. Now the income limits on this one, and I want you braced because they are much higher than anybody expects. A single person can have annual income above $23,000 and still qualify. A married couple can be above $31,000 a year and still qualify. Verified card. Source. Current year Part D low-income subsidy income limits for individuals and married couples set at 150% of the federal poverty level. Read that again if you need to, because it is not what people picture. That is not a poverty program in the way the phrase gets used. That is an ordinary retired person with a decent Social Security check and no pension. And the savings limit is not what you think either. It sits above $18,000 for a single person and above $36,000 for a couple once burial money is set aside the way the rules allow. Verified card. Source. Current year resource limits for the Part D low-income subsidy, including the allowance for funds set aside for burial expenses. And once again, your home does not count. One car does not count. Your belongings do not count. So let me say plainly what that combination means. There are people watching this right now who are splitting pills in half, or skipping a dose, or deciding between two prescriptions at the counter, who are sitting well inside every limit I just read out loud. Ferlin is 81. He lives in Vada, Oklahoma. He drove a school bus for the district for 19 years after he left the plant, and he has the kind of pride about money that his generation was raised into. Ferlin takes several medications. One of them is expensive. And for about 2 years, without telling his daughter, he had been taking that one every other day instead of every day to stretch the bottle. He did not think of that as a crisis. He thought of it as managing. That word comes up constantly with people his age. Managing, making do, getting by. What Ferlin did not know is that he was inside the income limit for extra help by a wide margin. Not close to it, inside it, with room to spare. And what makes his case worse is the piece I told you about at the start. Ferlin had actually been enrolled in the premium program at one point, which means the prescription help should have followed him automatically. That connection exists. It exists in the rules. But he had dropped off the premium program a few years earlier, during a renewal he did not complete, because a letter came at a bad time, and he set it on the counter and it got covered up. And when he fell off one, he fell off both, and nothing came in the mail to say so. That is how quiet this is. Not a denial, not an appeal, a letter under a stack of mail, and 2 programs go silent at once. When his daughter finally sat down with him and made the call, both were restored. His drug plan premium went away. His deductible went away. That expensive prescription came down to the price of a sandwich. And he started taking it every day, the way it was prescribed, for the first time in 2 years. I want you to notice what that actually was. That was not a financial problem. That was a medical problem, created by a financial problem, created by nobody telling an 81-year-old man about a form. Now, before I give you the third one, I need to stop and warn you about something, because this exact kind of money attracts a very specific kind of thief. The moment there is a benefit that seniors can claim, there is somebody on a phone trying to get in front of it. Here's how it sounds. The caller is polite. The caller sounds official. The caller says they are calling from Medicare or from Social Security, and that they can get your premium refunded or your new benefit started today. They just need to confirm your bank account, or your Medicare number, or your Social Security number. Stop. Hang up. Do not be embarrassed about hanging up. Medicare does not call you out of nowhere to hand you money. Social Security does not call you out of nowhere to hand you money. Verified card. Source. Federal agencies do not call beneficiaries unsolicited to request personal or banking information in order to release benefits. The direction matters more than anything else I can tell you about scams. You go to them. They do not come to you. And there is a second version of this that catches more people than the phone calls do, because it does not feel like a scam at all. Somebody offers to file your application for you and charges you for it. Every single program in this video is free to apply for. Free. There is no filing charge, no processing charge, no expediting charge, and there is no such thing as a service that gets you approved faster. If money is changing hands to fill out one of these forms, you are being taken, no matter how professional the office looks. Now here's the third one, and for the right person, this is the largest of the 3 by a wide margin, because this is not a bill being covered or a premium being paid. This is another check. It is called Supplemental Security Income, and people shorten it to those 3 letters, SSI. And I need you to hold 2 things apart in your head right now, because this is where nearly everybody goes wrong. There is Social Security, the retirement check you earned by working. That is one thing. And there is this, which is a separate federal payment for people who are 65 or older or disabled and who are living on a low income with limited savings. They're two different programs, two different pots of money, same agency writing the check. And here is the mistake that costs people the most money of anything in this entire video. Most folks assume that because they already receive a Social Security check, they cannot possibly receive this one too. That is simply not true. If your Social Security check is small, you can very often receive this payment on top of it. Verified card. Source. Individuals may receive supplemental security income concurrently with Social Security benefits when income falls below program limits. One does not cancel the other. It fills the gap underneath it. For this year, the most a single person can receive is a little under $1,000 a month. For a couple, it is just under $1,500. Verified card. Source. Current year federal benefit rates for supplemental security income for an eligible individual and an eligible couple. Now, if you already have Social Security coming in, your payment here is reduced by most of that, so you would not receive the full amount. You would receive the difference. And I want to head off the reaction I know some of you just had. A partial amount is not nothing. A few $100s a month, every month, to somebody whose budget is already stretched to the last day of the month is not a rounding error. Over a year, that is thousands of dollars, and it arrives on a schedule, forever, not once. Now, the savings limit on this one is genuinely tight, and I am not going to soften it. It is $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple, and that figure has not moved in decades. Verified card. Source. Supplemental security income resource limits for individuals and couples have remained unchanged for many years. But listen to what is excluded, because this is where people rule themselves out wrongly again. The home you live in does not count. Your car generally does not count. Your household goods do not count. So do not look at the house you have lived in for 40 years and decide you are too wealthy for this. The house was never in the calculation. Truett is 79. He lives in Marion, Indiana. 38 years at the same job. There was a pension, and the company that promised it stopped existing, and what came out the other side of that was a fraction of what he was told he would have. So he lives on Social Security. And his Social Security is small because his best earning years were the ones that got interrupted. Truett knew what SSI was, or he thought he did. He was certain it was welfare, that it was for people who never worked, and that a man who put in 38 years had no business asking for it. I want to say something directly to everybody who just felt that same thing in their chest. That program is funded, and it is built for exactly one person. The person who worked their whole life, receives a modest check, and comes up a little short every single month. That is not a loophole. That is the intended user. That is who the thing was made for. Truett qualified for a partial payment, a few $100s a month on top of his Social Security. And here is what actually changed in his life, because it was not a vacation, and it was not a new car. The month started working. The prescriptions and the electric bill and the groceries stopped competing with each other in the last week. That is what a few $100s a month is at that income level. It is the difference between a month that works and a month that does not. Now let me stop and do the arithmetic out loud, because I do not think most people have ever seen these three added together. The premium program. That is more than $2,400 a year back in your check, and in the most generous version, your deductible and your doctor bills go with it. The prescription program. The Social Security Administration puts the average value of that in the thousands per year. And the third one, for the right person, is thousands more on top, arriving every month. Stack those, and for a great many people watching this, we are not talking about pocket money. We are talking about the difference between a retirement where the last week of every month is a held breath, and one where it is not. And now I want you to run that in the other direction, because that is the number nobody ever calculates. If you qualify for these and you do not claim them, that is not zero. That is a loss, in real dollars, every month, quietly, on a schedule. Somebody who qualifies for all three and never applies is losing thousands of dollars a year. Not once, every year, for as long as it goes unnoticed. Ozella lost years of it. Ferlin lost 2 years of taking his medication correctly, and neither of them was denied a single time. There was nothing to appeal. There was only a thing they did not know. That is the entire cost of missing information at this stage of life, and it is why I put the quiet rules together in the first place. Not as a list of programs. You can find lists. As the thing that sits in the drawer and tells you what to check, what does not get counted, what to say, and what to do in the specific week that something happens to your money. You can find it at kevinexplains.shop. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment at the top, or scan the QR code on your screen right now. 7-day guarantee, no questions asked. Because the alternative is an 81-year-old man cutting a pill in half at his kitchen counter for 2 years to stretch a bottle he never had to pay full price for. Now let me tell you why this particular year is the year to check, even if you checked once before and were told no. At the start of this year, the cost of living adjustment moved everything. The payment amounts went up, the federal poverty guidelines that set these income lines moved up with them, and the Medicare premium itself jumped by nearly 10%. Verified card. Source. This year's cost of living adjustment raised benefit amounts, and the Part B premium rose to $202.90 per month. Which means the line for who qualifies moved, without one single thing changing about your own life. Somebody who was told they were $40 a month over the limit 2 years ago can be comfortably under it today, sitting in the same chair with the same income. And I have watched people take that old answer like a verdict. They were told no once, in a year that no longer exists, and they never asked again. That limit is not carved in stone. It climbs almost every year. The door that was shut on you in a previous year may already be open, and nobody is going to call and tell you it swung. There is also a federal rule that took effect this spring, specifically because too many eligible people were falling out of these programs. It requires states to lean on records the government already holds instead of demanding that you go find and prove everything yourself. And it pushes states to enroll certain people automatically instead of waiting on paperwork. Verified card. Source. A federal rule with a compliance date this spring requires states to streamline Medicare Savings Program enrollment and reduce documentation demands on applicants. That is a real improvement, and it is genuinely good news. But do not wait for it to find you. It is being implemented by states at different speeds, and the fastest path to the money is still the one where you make the call. And one more piece of timing that matters, because it is the only genuine deadline in this video. One of the 3 versions of that premium program is funded out of a capped pot of money each year, and applications are taken first come, first served. Verified card. Source. The qualifying individual version of the Medicare Savings Program is funded by a capped federal allotment and processed on a first come, first served basis with annual reapplication. That is not a scare tactic, and it is not a countdown clock. It is simply how that particular one is funded. If you are in that band, being early in the year is better than being late in it, and being in line at all beats not being in line. Now let me pay off what I promised you at the beginning. I said I would give you one sentence. Here it is, and I want you to say it exactly like this, because the words do the work. I am on Medicare, I am on a fixed income, and I want to be screened for all the programs I might qualify for. That is it. That is the whole thing. Notice what that sentence does not contain. It does not contain a program name. It does not contain a percentage. It does not require you to know which of the 3 versions you land in or what your countable income is after the exclusions, because that is their job, not yours. Your job is one sentence and a willingness to be told you might qualify for something you did not call about. And notice the most important word in it, which is all. If you call and ask about one program by name, you will be helped with that one program, and that is all you will hear about. Ask to be screened for everything, and the conversation changes completely. Now, where do you say it? For the premium program and for the prescription help, you can call your state health insurance assistance program. Every state has one, and the help there is free. You can also go through your state Medicaid office for the premium program, and the prescription program is handled through Social Security. And for that 3rd one, the second check, you go directly to Social Security. All 3 are free to apply for, every one of them. And one more thing about what happens after you apply, because people assume the clock starts the day they are approved. For some of these, coverage can reach backward, and months you already paid for can be picked up. Verified card. Source. Certain Medicare savings programs allow retroactive coverage for months prior to the application. Confirm the current retroactive period before recording, which means the application you file this month is not only about next month. Ask about that specifically when you call, because nobody volunteers it. Vada is 73. She lives in Aiken, South Carolina, and I want to end on her because she is the one who did it. Vada is not clever. She would tell you that herself. She simply made a call one Tuesday morning because her sister would not stop pestering her about it. She asked to be screened for everything. Her state took over her Medicare premium. Her check went up the next month. The prescription help came with it automatically, which is the connection I told you about, and her drug plan premium and her deductible both disappeared. And she did not qualify for the third one. Her Social Security was a little too high for that. 2 out of 3. One phone call, one Tuesday morning. And the difference between Vada and Ozella is not intelligence, and it is not deserving. It is that somebody would not stop pestering Vada until she picked up the phone. Which, if you have somebody in your life who is 65 or older and quietly coming up short every month, is exactly the job I am asking you to take. And if you want a second set of eyes on your own situation, whether the income you are looking at is the income they actually count, or which of these you are closest to qualifying for, email me. The address is on your screen and in the description below. I read every one. Now, here is your checklist. 5 things. 1. Make the call even if you are certain you make too much. The lines are higher than you think and you cannot see the exclusions from your kitchen table. 2. Ask to be screened for everything, not for one program by name. That single word is worth more than everything else on this list. 3. If you were told no in a previous year, that answer has expired. The limits moved this year. Ask again. 4. Do not count your house or your car against yourself. Neither one is in the calculation for any of the 3. 5. Never pay anybody $1 to file these, and never give your numbers to somebody who called you. You go to them. Here is what I want you carrying out of this video. Ozella qualified for years in a paid-off house and never asked because she believed help was for people worse off than her. Ferlin cut his medication in half for 2 years while sitting inside the limit by a wide margin. And Truett was certain that 38 years of work disqualified him from the exact program those 38 years were meant to protect him from needing. Not one of them was ever turned down. Not one of them was rejected, denied, or found ineligible by anybody. Every single one of them made the decision themselves, at their own table, with wrong information, and the system simply agreed with them by saying nothing at all. That is the thing to hold on to. Nobody is coming to tell you. There is no letter, there is no phone call. The system pays the people who ask, and it will let you go your entire retirement without ever mentioning what you were owed. The only person who is going to make sure you get every dollar with your name on it is you. And it costs 1 phone call and 1 sentence to find out. If this told you something nobody had told you before, do one thing for me. Send it to one person over 65 who is on a fixed income and is convinced the government does not owe them a thing. They are the least likely person to ever go looking, and you can be the reason they finally do. I am Kevin. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to check the quiet rules at kevinexplains.shop.